Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Will Robbins. I lead customer success here at Monte Carlo, and I am joined by the incredible Danielle Rimon, head of data engineering at Resident. And today's session is all about how Resident drives data observability with Monte Carlo.
Hi there.
A couple quick housekeeping notes, and then I'll just jump into the meat and potatoes and have Danielle drive. But just agenda for today. First off, we'll start with just a quick introduction, both of Danielle and the company that she's at. I'll just give a little bit of an overview of what data observability is and how we think about it at Monte Carlo. And then we'll jump into a little bit about how Danielle and Resident are addressing issues of data downtime at their company and how they're bringing in principles of data observability to help address a lot of those. We'll wrap up with what some of the impact of that has been, and then it's really valuable if we have some really active Q&A. So as we go, if you have any questions, please drop them into the chat in the webinar panel. And if it's a super relevant question, just as we're going along, I'll just try to ask it on the fly. Otherwise, I think we'll pause about halfway through to do a kind of like a broader Q&A. And then we'll stop again at the end. And I think we'll have a lot more time for questions there. So please feel free to ask them in the chat, and we'll ask them to Danielle as we go. Also, please know the session's being recorded, and we'll share it with you after the fact so you can forward to any colleagues that you think might be interested. Also, if you are interested in learning more about Monte Carlo, and go to our site and click the button to see a demo, we'll put you right at the top of the list if you're somebody that's on this webinar. With that, I'm going to stop talking, and I'll let Danielle introduce a little bit about herself and Resident.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. So a little bit about Resident. Resident is a direct-to-consumer house of brands. So currently, we specialize in mattress brands. We have 4 active and large brands, which makes us actually, for 2020, the second largest mattress company in the US. And we also sell in UK. And we're actually at a very, very cool phase of growing. And besides like selling mattresses 99% online, we specialize in data, in marketing and technology. We have marketing experts publishing in every platform you can imagine, and that's a big part of our growth. Our technology is, aside from our websites, is in our operational system, which is all in-house engineered. And actually in 2020, also thanks to COVID, we had like over 100% growth in 1 year. We reached profitability in a very, very nice one, and also funded $130 million lately. So why is it interesting? Because when you hear mattresses, it doesn't necessarily tell you data or technology, but that's what a company is all about. And we have a lot of data, and a lot of growing data in the last couple of years, especially. Actually, I'm going to talk a bit about our data team, and then pass it back to Will. Our data team has 4 analysts and 3 engineers on my team, and a VP of data, which actually the engineering part is like bringing all of the data, monitoring it, making sure it's accurate. We use BigQuery and GCP in general, Google Cloud Platform for, we use Airflow, we use Google Functions, we use Rivery to inject and manage our ETLs. And like I said, I think BigQuery is our main tool. And Monte Carlo has been a very strong player in our data managing. And you'll hear more about it soon.
Awesome.
Anything after that?
No, that's awesome. Very cool. And as a e-commerce and direct-to-consumer company, you all have loads of data on people that are visiting your site. Very important in terms of, your data is really important in terms of how marketing dollars and marketing budget gets spent and allocated. It really is a data-driven business. And even if, for folks in the audience, even if you're not in a business that's e-commerce or direct to consumer, I think there's still a lot of relevance here. Resident, probably just like you, relies on data to drive really intelligent decision-making in their business, to fuel a lot of different aspects of company operations, and to deliver a better and more seamless customer experience. But what we see in terms of what can happen when data goes wrong is, well, there's a whole slew of things. If any of the data that's powering those operations becomes missing or broken, or just something in those pipelines break, and it can lead to really serious issues throughout the business. One, just the broken pipelines mean that the company isn't able, and all your stakeholders aren't able to have access to the most up-to-date data to make the decisions that they want. It breaks a lot of the dashboarding and other points of consumption for data throughout your business, either if that's executives or if that data goes out directly to customers or powers things that directly impact the customer experience. And this can really negatively impact relationships throughout the business as well. It can cause a lot of strain between you and some of your other partner functions. So for example, if you're in data engineering or data platform, it can really strain the relationship with a BI or analytics team, or vice versa. But also it can strain your relationship with your customers. For example, if you're sending emails to them or serving ads to them which don't relate to anything that's important to them, or are you're notifying them of a credit card that got declined when they're not even a customer of yours yet. These are all sorts of things that happen really often as a result of bad data. So Monte Carlo's point of view on the solution to this problem is data observability. As an umbrella term, this is all about an organization's ability to fully understand the health of the data in their system and eliminating data downtime. We borrow the term observability from the world of DevOps and application observability, and a set of principles all about having visibility into the health and uptime of an actual website or software application. We think data teams have been operating for too long without that. And in order to be a scalable and modern data team, you need to incorporate those principles of observability into how the team is run. In terms of how Monte Carlo does this, and then I'll pass things back to Danielle because she's the star of today, not me. But in terms of how Monte Carlo does this, we plug into where the data lives. So in the case of Resident, that's primarily BigQuery. We plug into where the data gets presented to the business, which, Danielle, correct me, is that Looker for you all?
Yeah.
Okay, Looker. And then we also observe all the different kinds of transformations taking place on the data, from those points of ingestion all the way to those points of consumption. And we apply on top of this what we call our data observability engine. This is primarily a set of machine learning models which learn what the normal behavior looks like for your data, and then proactively alerts you anytime it deviates from those historical patterns. And there's also a bunch of tools which do a really good job of aggregating all the context of how your data fits together, for example, the lineage of your data, and helps you visualize what's going on in your data ecosystem so you can more quickly troubleshoot issues when they come up, or in some cases prevent data downtime from happening in the first place. So one way to think about what we do is anytime there's a data incident, there's two aspects of this. There's time to detection, and then there's time to resolution. And we want to be able to both shorten the time to detection and shorten the time to resolution, and when possible, even prevent the incident from happening in the first place. But that's enough of me. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'll pass things over to Danielle, and she'll drive from here on out.
Okay, so hi again. I'm going to talk about our journey with Monte Carlo, and where we were before and where we are now. A bit of a Resident data team. So I'm going to go a little back to 2019 when I joined the company. There were VPN2 analysts. We started using BigQuery. We had like some views, some main tables, like we used Funnel.io, if you know it, which is like a very more easy to use tool for marketing platform and connections. Like you use whatever they can give you, like data about Facebook and AdWords and some other platform. You like customize it and then export to a spreadsheet. And we injected the spreadsheet into BigQuery because we're like advanced, so we can do like more complex analyzing in BigQuery. And when I got there, like the data team was established like a few months back. We mostly try to keep track on performance. When I mean performance, I mean like marketing spend and gross sales, a bit like cost of goods sale. Not much more than that. And also we had very complicated queries and like many duplications and different logics and inconsistent logics, and quite a mess. And that's where and also we could describe so many stuff that we're missing, and we want to keep better track on our websites. And like we just started using Google Tag Manager and Google Analytics to keep track on everything that's going on there. In e-commerce, it's super important and gets you a lot of data and visibility of what's happening on your product. And we didn't have any monitoring. We didn't have information about what's going on in customer success, and a lot of our marketing sources, which Funnel didn't have connection to, and we basically didn't have a lot of data. But we aggregated a lot of data and didn't make good use of it. Less than 2 years after, we are a team of 8 people and growing. We use so many tools to this, and so like I said, we use BigQuery and we use Airflow. We have 2 developers on my team with a degree in computer science. We use cloud functions and trigger data that based on triggered events, and we have data products in real time that we created and we built, and like Will said, we base decision on the data at real time. So that's why monitoring is really, really important, and we spend money because of those processes. We have surveys and we have experiments on our products, and we have retail connections and online to offline processes. So, and over 30,000 views and tables in our BigQuery. So besides that, it makes us, I think, super interesting data team and company. It also makes things very, very complicated and very hard to track. So I'm going to tell you how did we do it before Monte Carlo and how did we do it after. Okay. So how did we manage before? So to understand which, if like I want to make a change in a table or in a process or like update it, I need to understand what it affects, how many views, how many tables. Like I said, we had a lot of double views and double processes, and so we didn't always know what affects what. So we had to like search for it and like hope that we remember everything, and like ask everyone on the team, and sometimes the script itself helped, but not entirely. And so we did a lot of manual work and took a lot of risks, actually. So sometimes the result was someone, like we're based in Israel, the data team. So when our day ends and it's like the middle of the day in New York or in Los Angeles or San Francisco, and someone says, what's going on with the marketing data? That doesn't make sense. That's double. So we have to chase it and understand what's broken, which is not a good experience. Sometimes in like 6 a.m. in the morning. The only alerts we had were like failure alerts, like something is broken. You were supposed to inject a BigQuery, but it didn't. But it's very basic, and or you need to refresh and you didn't see any new data. Why is that? You need to guess and so my morning would start, or my boss's morning would start in like opening every main dashboard, every important dashboard, and look for mistakes, like manually, or stuff that doesn't make sense, or remembering what we had before. Very primitive and very inefficient and frustrating, actually.
Hey Danielle, one quick question I have for you is just like what would be a specific example of some sort of like data disaster or data incident as a result of this sort of this sort of management?
So something would get stuck in the backend process that injects data to our BigQuery, and I wouldn't know unless I would check on the dashboard. So sometimes, like the CEO of the company would Slack to me and my boss and said, like, "What's going on? Didn't we have any sales? What something is wrong." So, that's my nightmare. The message from the data is off, the data is broken. So, and with no context, and I don't know where to start. And it's not always like, okay, 0 sales. It's like we have to investigate and get to the core of it. And it could be a lot of things. It could be a lot more things today, but yeah, that would be bad. Or sometimes it doubled, or the marketing spend is doubled, and then it seems like we lost money. Okay, and you have no like. We added the map because you feel like in a forest and you need to navigate and you're not sure where to start, and it would take 10 minutes or 2 hours, and that's frustrating. And when you're new in the company, it's not so fun. But then we understood that we needed to take the time and make things better, and Monte Carlo had very, very good timing with it. That's my next slide, actually.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so I remember this one day that we started, like my boss said, take the week, don't answer to any message, any Slack, nothing. And let's build our whole daily performance process from scratch. Like, it was very, very hard to track and very hard to debug every time we needed to add something or add it, or just because it's broken and it wasn't maintained correctly. And then I started working on it. It was a lot of work and very fun work for me. And then one day I stopped and I told him, Avi, I wish that there were like some place that I could like take a table and see everything it connects to. Like, it affects this one and this one, it doesn't affect this one, and this goes all the way to the end of the process, which is the dashboard of the analysts. Okay, so I need this map. I need this like huge map, and I can't create it because I won't ever update it. I have no idea how to do it, not manually. But there has to be some kind of thing. And then he said, let's talk to Monte Carlo, which was, I think, pretty new then, right? Like, we were one of the first to work with you, like, for my luck, not unfortunately. And I'm gonna skip to my dream coming true, and we'll show you this screenshot. Okay, so in 2 sentences, like, admin orders is like my favorite table. It's like, it's one of the results of this project that I told you about. It contains like every information I want to know on an order level of a customer, of course, mattresses and more. So here in the middle, we have somewhere admin orders, and this is all the table it's connected to and affects. So this is like my dream, but as I learned, this is very, very cool, and you can find it in Monte Carlo. But this is, I'm going to show you the way I actually work, because this is hard to follow, as you can imagine. I'm sorry. Okay. So this is Monte Carlo, if you're not familiar with our actual live Monte Carlo. So this is admin orders, which I talked about. And I have, it's a table in BigQuery under a daily perf new model. And I can see like a lot of information about how this table behaves. So this is the view that feeds it. If I'll click on it, I'll get the tables in view that feeds this view. And here I know that every change that I make in admin orders affects all of these views in tables. So you can see we have shipments views and customer success views and marketing views and performance, which is real-time performance, and a lot of views. So every change I make, I have to understand it can affect all of those. So I can share it with my analysts or engineers, and they can go and see and tell me if it's a good effect or bad effect, because some of it they built and not me. And we can collaborate together and make sure we prevent data disasters before we make them. So that's the first thing. And we can go, if I click, I go to the next step, and it's very easy to navigate and control. And you can like see where was it 3 weeks ago or today if something has changed since. And it goes all the way to our Looker dashboards, which is very, very cool, because I can tell where do I see this information? Where should it affect? And then I can go to the dashboard and see, and refresh after the change and see if it had a good effect or a bad one. So that's really cool. I'm going to scroll down. You can see, yeah.
Anything to maintain this lineage or even put it in there in the first place? Like, how does the system do that for you?
So nothing. So Monte Carlo like scans your data themselves, and it's in there. If I want some advanced monitoring and like more drilled on fields monitoring, I can define. I'm not going to dwell you with it in here in monitors like that. I want like very much deeper monitoring on the content, on the actual fields, but just for this, nothing. It happens. Like I said, it's the dream. So I can see that this table updates with the review process. This is the service key. I can see it happens 3 times a day. And if I go to the right, I can see that the freshness went well, or was it changed? Like if you see the pattern every day is like on 6:40, 10:40, and 5 p.m. 40 or 6 p.m. It's like after the daylight savings. And you can see that on Saturday, that it was 6:48 and then 1:41. So that actually a time that I got an alert. Something was wrong with the process. I disabled something that I shouldn't have, and I got an alert from Monte Carlo, and then reactivated this process. And then that's why you see that the update change is a bit later, which is very cool. Here you can see the field types, and here that's also cool. You can see like the table growing. So one of the alerts I get that if like Monte Carlo expect the table to grow every like 3 times a day, and it's suddenly it's flat, so I get an alert. We expected the table to grow, but it didn't, because they know my patterns. So that's amazing. This is also nice. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say that I got like 6 questions concurrently in the chat. So I wanted to address it. There's a lot of questions around how Monte Carlo does the lineage graphs. Okay. So I just wanted to jump in and say, so we parse the SQL out of the query logs in the warehouse. And so in Danielle's case, their primary warehouse is BigQuery. And so all those transformations going on in the warehouse leave behind query logs, which contain SQL, which reflect data from which tables is being passed to which different views and which different other tables downstream. So we parse out all that SQL automatically and put together the lineage graph that way. And we also, in the case of, since Danielle uses Looker, we also have a connector to Looker, and we also connect to GitHub where the lookml files are stored. And so that's how we extend the lineage down into Looker as well. And the cool thing about that is, one, you don't need to do anything to actually put the lineage in there. As soon as we're plugged in, we can read and parse those query logs. It also means that that lineage evolves and updates as your data evolves and updates. So you don't have this problem of your lineage graphs becoming stale. It just automatically stays up to date as your data evolves. Sorry to interrupt. There's so many questions coming in. I wanted to address it.
Yeah, I see. It's interesting. Yeah, I'm going to jump in and say that you guys have it for Tableau as well. We used to use Tableau, and we actually started working with that. Worked awesome as well. So also in Looker. So we also can see track on new fields you added or removed, which is also cool. I think that's like the general catalog that you see. I'm gonna come back here. Oh, and also I'm gonna show you soon how did I also monitor this table with the key of the table is an order ID, of course. So I can create an alert on if we have 2 rows for the same ID. So I'm going to show you another example of the monitors, but that's also a functionality of Monte Carlo that I use for this table, which, like I said, is one of my key tables. So yeah, that's an amazing tool for that. I'm going to come back to the presentation. I'm sorry, I had here, I think, yeah. Okay. So what do we do now? We make more responsible changes, like you saw on the UI. You can see everything, your change effects, and how to use it, and if you want to remove views that that you think are irrelevant, that are irrelevant now because you created something better, you can see how to replace it and what will affect if you can safely do this change or not. So not only changing the schemas. You are the first person to know about an issue. I'm sure that you're wondering, okay, how do I know? We get on every incident. You can see it in the UI, but we get it in Slack. We used to get it in email if you prefer. That's also an option. But you can see here how does a Slack alert look like, or better yet, I'll go to this one. Okay, so I got an alert that this table monitoring real time. So a few rows were added, but not enough. And it was a true alert. And then in a few minutes I fixed it, and that's it. No one noticed. No one knew. But I think it was because of the daylight savings, by the way. The schedule was for an hour later, and that's why I did an update. And no one noticed, and it's one of our key tables and data product. And another freshness alert that I got was this is a daily table that updates and says 26 hours you did an update, and we fixed it right away. It was supposed to have an update after 24 hours, and also very helpful. I can tag the relevant analyst that if it's not a view that I know, or the relevant engineer, and they can fix it, and they can update if it's false positive, rarely false positive actually, or if it's expected because we changed the table and we're expecting more results, or we paused the query, but we can feedback Monte Carlo, and it's a really great process. I want to talk about.
Hey, Danielle, one question I have is just around, a question I have for you, and some people ask this, is tell me a little bit about there's some automated monitors. I think the ones you just showed were things where nobody needed to set rules or thresholds around that. That's just learning, doing its learning. So there's some automated stuff, and then there's other things that are automated, but you just need to turn it on for a given table. And then there's, on top of that, if you have really specific business context, you can set rules. So maybe just talk a little bit about what are those different levels of coverage? What's just immediately out of the box, no setup required, and then what are some things where you can layer on top if you have really specific business rules?
Okay, so
let me know if I'm getting ahead of you. You might have it later.
No, it's good. It's good. I'm just I'm hoping I'm accurate with what I'm saying.
Okay.
Freshness alert, this table was supposed to be updated and it's not, or it hasn't grown and it was supposed to Monte Carlo sees if you the script ran but it added 0 rows. They see it and they so that's for every table. It's automatic. It happens, and I think it's 90% of our alerts. Okay, which is important because you can really have peace of mind with it because it's what people cares about in the end, or so that's for all the tables. we have like special, like you'd have to define a table that you want to actually monitor the content of specific fields. Like if you, like, let's say we have 4 brands, usually like 70% is Nectar. If suddenly Nectar would be 50%, Monte Carlo would alert because I defined the table in the list, okay? It won't do it to every table, just to that specific table. But that's like very specific alerts. They're more rare and more, I imagine they're more hard to find out, but Monte Carlo does it better than me. Yeah, and customized alert, that's cases for like when I have this certain situation that I wanna find, or have this process outside of BigQuery that it exports to Airflow or some kind of Python script that I know what's supposed to be in it. I can't expect Monte Carlo to be in my mind. And I define it once, I define the frequency. Let me just show you an example that I really love. Where is it? Okay, so I'm in monitors in Monte Carlo, and then I go to rules. Like you see, I don't have a lot of those, but I can build one really easily. So I'm going to talk about web events brand updates. So we work with Google Analytics, and once a day we get all the data from our from Google Analytics to our warehouse of the past day, and then we have all kinds of processes built on it, processes that worth money and spend money and are super important to us and we don't want to miss. Google Analytics updates around 7 p.m. Israel time. Sometimes it's 8, sometimes it's 30. It's not constant, and I need to schedule my process somehow. And if I schedule it to 8 because I have different processes at 9 and 10, and it takes like an hour to calculate, it's a very complex process that I have, and I miss it, like the whole process, the whole thing breaks down actually, and then I find myself at 10 p.m. Rerunning stuff and sending emails and saying I'm sorry. And so this alert just prevented that. What do? I start my process at 8, and the first step already knows if Google Analytics had the information or not. So I set my alert to 8:25, and then I tell them, if you see less than 2 rows in for the date of yesterday, alert me. Okay, and then I get a Slack message, and then if it breaks, I can just stop, check when Google Analytics was updated, or wait for like a few minutes, and then it usually updates, rerun the process, and have quiet. So this is like something that I need to check manually before I'm Monte Carlo, and it was super annoying. So this is like something that they wouldn't know, and I need to define, but it took like 20 seconds, just build the query and schedule it, and it will alert to Slack. It looks like this. Web events brand update, 0 rows. Yeah, I updated the status that it's fixed. Okay. You saw this. So I have a lot more examples. I really, really love this product, but I think that like before and after Monte Carlo, I was always like on the watch, always scared that I'm missing something, and I can't imagine like working without it now. Okay, like we have like 10% of the incidents we have a year ago. Our team is super reliable. They count on us. That's why we have processes that are based on data and are automatic and believe in data. Our goals for the year is build more and more data products and enrich our data warehouse. There isn't any process in the company that happens without us, and because people trust and believe our data, because it's reliable and it's good, and even if it's complicated and in real time, we have the tools to monitor it and make it so reliable, and that's Monte Carlo. Like I'm gonna add this one sentence like on our banner for this webinar. We wrote that my 3 main tabs are Monte Carlo, Gmail, and we very skipped ahead before BigQuery, but Monte Carlo is on the top 3 because it's so important to us. So I'm really happy to be here. I think every data engineer has to have this level of monitoring, in order to do his work in an efficient and good way. That's it, I think, for me.
There's a whole, I didn't want to stop your flow in the middle of things, so we have a whole bunch of questions from different folks in the audience, and some I'll post to you and some I can take as well. A bunch of questions were related to how Monte Carlo fits in with something like a data catalog. And so I have a point of view on that, but also just wanted to pose to you, like, does Resident have a data catalog, or in your particular case, does Monte Carlo fill some of that? I'd love your thoughts.
What do you mean exactly by data catalog? Like what?
Yeah, a tool dedicated to both documenting different aspects of your data, but also discovery of your data from different data consumers or analysts throughout the business. So like a tool that makes it simple for them to know where to go to find the right data to answer a particular question.
So I think like most of our main tables, like output tables for dashboard and stuff, each department knows it. We don't have like a main tool. For us, this tool is Monte Carlo. Like if I want to see the source of something, or any of the team members, analysts, or engineers, they know where to go here, and this is like a main tool. The other teams, customers inside the company, they just know their dashboards, and they have, and Looker provides like explorers for the specific table that they want to explore and like drill down. But no, we don't have like a product for it beside Monte Carlo.
Got it. Yeah, my point of view in this, and one of the specific questions, like, is does this tool complement or replace something like Great Expectations? Or another one you might hear about in the market is Elation or Amundsen or Calibra. Honestly, I think that's really something that needs to be looked at on a case-by-case basis. I do think one place where Monte Carlo really shines is kind of a combination of data observability and data monitoring, but then also data discovery. So we do both, I think, very, very well. But we also think that there's a lot about there's some aspects of data catalog which that we haven't tackled yet, and we don't think necessarily belong in a data observability platform. And so I think it's something which is really contextual based on the needs of your business, and we'd be really happy to talk with you about it. We have some companies that use us very happily alongside a cataloging tool, and other companies that use us as both an observability and a cataloging solution.
That's good. Good to know.
Another question was, sounds like the machine learning depends to a significant extent on the maturity and stability of the data pipeline and its transformations. And so, sorry, I got distracted for a moment. Danielle, would you agree with that? Or I also have a point of view that I can share as well. Like, do you feel like the machine learning depends a lot on the maturity and stability of the existing pipeline that it's placed in?
Of course, but as I said there before, like 90% of the important incidents, or like the unusual incidents, are like freshness issues, or like very drastic changes, or that the fails that we're concerned about. Like something is broken, something is appended instead of override, stuff like that, or we change the source of the table and it's still connected to the old one that's not updating, stuff like that. And also the field monitors that, like I said, that relies more on the heavy machine learning. It's usually on our more stable tables, like admin orders, which like has been for like 4 years. 4 years for the source of the table, but yeah, for this table, like 1.5 years. So it's pretty stable, and it's been, we monitor it very well with Monte Carlo, the content and the distribution.
Yeah, the way
I don't know if that comes threshold for the age of the table for to be monitored, like with field monitoring.
Yeah, the way I think about this is, yeah, the machine learning can really thrive if it's like a stable and reliable pipeline. If you have something that is totally net new or has a history of being really problematic, that's where some of the monitors like rules, or there's another thing that we're releasing soon called SLIs, or like service level indicators, that make it really easy for you to essentially tell the system tell the system certain things or certain thresholds that you want to enforce. And so that helps to address a cold start problem where you might have a totally new pipeline, or a pipeline that just got totally rebuilt, and you just have very specific things that you want to make sure it abides by. Let's see, other questions that came in. Sorry, there's so many that came in. I do want to go back to one of the questions, because there's some other questions around like if we're considered part of a data catalog or different. And so I just do want to like address a couple points around that. Like, our approach is much different, where we rely much more on machine learning to do, first off, a lot of anomaly detection, but also we just have a lot of automated systems that pull all that context together into one place. So for example, we had that catalog view that Danielle was showing before. Nobody needed to go in and manually put anything into there. All that context is automatically scraped together based on the integration with BigQuery, and this is just Danielle's case, integration to BigQuery and the integration to Looker. So things like the lineage, the downstream BI reports, any tags that she has in the system, history of freshness and size and performance of the table over time, query logs, that's all pulled together automatically. So you don't need to do anything to maintain it. So yes, you do get kind of, for any given table or view, you get a single pane of glass telling you a lot about that table, and conceptually that's very similar to cataloging. But our approach to how we pull that together and how we maintain it over time, and how we integrate that with anomaly detection and lineage and stuff like that is much more unique to us. Danielle, how would you describe the benefits to your CEO, CMO, or head of support?
They believe in the data. They know how much money they spent and how much money they have. They can ask very complicated questions and get answer and base the decisions on top of data that they 100% believe in. We have lead score models, and we have refund models, and we have you can do data science without 100% relying on the data. You can do like spend hundreds of thousands on marketing a day without believing in your data and knowing that what you spent in Facebook is actual, and the transaction gave you actual, and your product cost didn't rise. Everything is perfectly aligned. There's a source of truth to everything. It's consistent. They see every nudge in every metric. If it happened like retro 2 months ago, we know everything. We have tools to see it, and they do too. And the fact that we rarely get requests or complaints to fix stuff says it all. It says it all. I think they don't have to. The fact that the CEO and the CMO don't need to be worried about it, rather what they see is true or not, is like a privilege and super important.
Awesome. A couple more questions, and then maybe we can, since I know you're in a part of the world where it's evening now, I can let you get on with your evening. One is around, so you're using Monte Carlo alongside Airflow, correct?
Yeah.
And there's the ability to do some checks in Airflow as well. And so I'm just curious, how do you think about checks in Monte Carlo versus checks in Airflow? And do you lean more towards one or the other, and why?
Actually, we didn't use that Airflow for checks. We use it for I mentioned Airflow before because, for example, one of our processes that relies on data freshness and real-time data happens in BigQuery, and then we export it to Airflow, and then in Airflow we inject it to Facebook API or AdWords API and stuff like that, like S2S. And if we use Monte Carlo to monitor BigQuery to see if the table is fresh before we inject it, before we take the data and inject it to the Facebook API. We don't use Airflow for monitoring actually. Or stuff like that, if that's what you meant or misunderstood. So we would like maybe Monte Carlo to monitor Airflow. This we can talk about. Yeah. But,
cool. And then I think this is the last one. I'll let you know if anything else pops up. But tell me a little bit about like managing volume of notifications. Like at any point were you in a scenario where there was kind of like a notification overload or kind of starting to get like alert fatigue? If so, how are you able to manage it in Monte Carlo? Or maybe it's just not something you encountered.
So I think it happened once or twice, but just because like our main process was down, and our main process, like our daily process that happened 3 times a day, and admin orders is a part of it, contains like, I think, almost 100 tables. So if that's down or that's delayed or gets stuck, we don't actually get at all of them. And Monte Carlo usually finds first alerts on the key tables, on the like more highly monitored tables, and then like when I see like the long alert, I like in a second know where to go. That's also an advantage. It's very quick to find the source of the problem, and then I just know where to go, and usually in 2 minutes it's fixed. So actually, like an alerts flood is the easiest to work with. And it's not I don't want it in any case, but it's not an issue at all.
Awesome. I have one more question. Sorry to promise that the last one was the last. Curious just about like operational impact of Monte Carlo on your warehouse environment. And I'm curious if you've, like the specific question from one person was, monitoring query logs is a clever way to gain a lot of insight. Does Monte Carlo also execute queries directly against the monitored data stores? If so, do you see any impacts to other operational queries? And I'll just answer one piece of this first. So all like the baseline out of the box stuff, like freshness and size and volume and schema change monitoring, does not execute a query against your data. But more specific monitors, like there's this thing called field health monitoring and another thing called dimension monitoring and rules, which you can opt tables in for, that in most cases will execute a query that you have control over if you choose to do that on your data. But Danielle, I know you've been using a bunch of those features, and I'm curious if you've seen any sort of operational impact.
Nope, definitely not. And I'm like I monitor closely on our costs and our BigQuery costs, and I know per data set and per user or service key, so I can like very confidently say nothing.
Awesome. Well, Danielle, thank you so much for joining us. I really enjoyed this session. I know from all the questions we've gotten, I can tell the audience also was super interested, super engaged. And so, yeah, we just really appreciate you coming out and showing some of what you're doing in the system and the impact that you've seen over the past year or so using the product. And for anybody in the audience that would love to learn more, like we on the Monte Carlo side would be thrilled to talk to you. There's a button on our website you can go and click, and we'll reach out to you right away to schedule time. Danielle, anything you'd say to wrap up?
I would just really recommend you using this.
Thank you.
It's a responsible thing to do.
Awesome. Great. For everybody on the line, the recording will be sent out shortly. And thanks so much for giving us some of your time.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.